Jim McKeith, and welcome to this webinar on maximizing your IDE productivity with Berlin Update 2. Real quick about me, I'm the lead worldwide developer evangelist and engineer for Embarcadero Technologies. Longtime developer, author, trainer, blogger, whatever you want to call it. My claim to fame, though, is I invented and patented Swipe to Unlock back in 2000. It's owned by a previous company I worked for, and found out about this during the big Apple-Samsung lawsuit a few years ago. There was a headline popped up on newsfeed that said, Apple didn't invent Swipe to Unlock, Jim McKeith did. And I was like, wait a second, that's my name. Went and looked through my patents. Sure enough, I had a patent for drawing geometric shapes to authenticate yourself to a computer system. So that's my claim to fame. Put it on my slides. Now you know everything there is to know about me. So for our agenda today, we're going to talk about some things that you can use to really improve productivity. Now, I tried to go with some new things, some things we haven't talked about before or talked about recently, hopefully, that will help you to find things you can be more productive, maybe some things you haven't been doing before. I'm always struck with a memory I have of way back, I probably was Delphi 3, and I was doing a presentation in a developers group, and I hit the dot and a little window pops up, the IDE, the Code Insight window that has all the members of the object, and some in the audience is like, oh my goodness, what did you do? And I'm like, I don't know, what did I do? And they're like, how did you get that window to come up? And I'm like, oh, you just hit the dot or control space and it comes right up. And he's like, oh wow, that is so cool, that's the neatest thing ever. And so I always want to remember that sometimes it's easy for me to assume everybody knows all the cool shortcuts and probably even knows more than I do. But the reality is we've probably, all of us have a few little cool shortcuts that we use that maybe other people are not aware of. So that's a couple things I wanted to cover in here is some of the newer stuff and then some things that maybe you might not be aware of. So let's talk about keyboard shortcuts. There is a lot of keyboard shortcuts. And really, the more you can keep your fingers on the keyboard, the more productive you're going to be because you're not having to switch between keyboard and mouse. There's a lot you can do. Here's a few of the cool keyboard shortcuts here. For example, you can use Control-Shift-C for class completion, Control-Shift up and down to jump between the interface and implementation. There's some shortcuts there for the designer. You can use the arrow keys to move components around, Control arrow keys to move components around, Shift Control arrow keys to move the components faster. And then just Shift and arrow key lets you change sizes. The escape key, select the parent component. That's a really useful one. A lot of people don't know that one. Is if you have a component selected, if you hit the escape key, it takes you up to the parent. Especially useful if you have like multiple layers, nested components. The hierarchy view is also useful for that. A couple resources there for key combinations. Carrie Jensen put together a list of key combinations. You can check that out. Very exhaustive list. And the Doc Wiki also has a lot of good documentation on keyboard shortcuts. What I want to point out to you, and you may not be aware of, is the IDE Insight, which is F6 or Controls period. This is one of those things that if you're not using it, start using it because it will fundamentally change the way you use the IDE. Essentially, you can get to pretty much everything in the IDE through IDE Insight. You can jump to a specific page in object or in the configuration setting preferences, a specific page in project options. You can jump to a component on the form. You can jump to a property in the object inspector. It really very, very powerful feature. Get used to using this because it's really the only thing you sometimes it feels like the only thing you need to use in the IDE. But I'm going to talk about some other options as well, just because, hey, we like our options. There are 3 ways to get to IDE Insight. You can click in this little search box here. This is the IDE Insight box. I'll move it over there so it's a little more obvious. You can hit Control period, which puts you in it. Escape takes you back out, or F6. Once you're in the IDE Insight box, you just start typing for what it is you want. You can really access pretty much everything from the IDE from here. So I can put a button on my form by typing button, and there's a button on my form. And now I can also go in here and say, let's add a speed button to my form. But then I would say, I want to access button 1. So I just type button 1. See, it selected button 1 from my form. And now I've selected button 1. And I can go to the Object Inspector with the Object Inspector shortcut key and find the text for button 1, hit enter and say, hello world. Boom. I've just changed the caption of button 1, just like that. So you can get, like I said, to everything from here. Let's see, I can go to Object Inspector. So I'll move this out of the way. So View Object Inspector. This is something really cool. So notice right there it has F11. If you forget F11 is Object Inspector, you can get there. So I can jump to the Object Inspector, or this is something I do quite a bit. Preferences, Object Inspector page. So I want to change the preference for IDE for Object Inspector, and my goodness, there's a lot of options in here. I can't tell you how many times I've come in here looking for an option and I can't find it, so I leave after a few minutes, go into IDE search box, type what I want, and it jumps right back to the right page in there. Saves so much time just for that alone. So anyway, there's really, you can get to just so much stuff in here. I can say I want to use unit 33. So see, there we go. It found the unit. I can jump right straight to unit 33. I've jumped to the code. It really, anything you want, any place you want to go, you can get to it via the keyboard with IDE Insight. So let's talk about live code templates. Now, chances are you may have used some of these and not been aware of it, or been using some of the some similar features. But live code templates is a really, really powerful feature because you can actually customize and create your own code templates. All right. So these are code templates like surrounding things with comments surrounding a block of code in a try finally block. You can really do just a ton of stuff. Any patterns you see yourself doing regularly, you can create a code template for. This can be really useful. For example, if you want to use, maybe have some comment patterns that you're using in your organization, or maybe if there is a certain design pattern you want to use in your code or something like that, you can do all that through code templates. So you can get to there's a couple documentation, DocWiki links there that will show you how to get into code templates and edit them. This is a really, really powerful feature. And a trick, tip, or any of you out there are doing presentations at like local developer groups, is code templates are a great way to get all the code written ahead of time for your presentation. So you just go and create some templates for the code you're going to do during your presentation. And instead of being up there typing and making mistakes, you just type the name of the template, Control J invokes it, and there's your next set of your next bit of code. So cool thing, it's language specific. You can specify context. You can have it declare variables for you, invoke refactorings. Really, really, really powerful mechanism. This is actually something I used a lot when it first came out, and I kind of forgot about it. And then I was like, wait a second, wasn't there a way you could do this? And I had to go back and dig through and figure out how to do it again. So very cool live code templates. Check it out if you're not currently using it. The object repository is another one of those things that I used to use a lot. And when a couple companies I worked at, we used it quite a bit. But then again, when I moved on to different companies, stopped using it, and just haven't used it in a while. But it's one of those things that's really, really useful when you use it. What it does is it allows you to take a project and add it to a repository that can then be checked into source control, shared with others, or just for your own use when you need to reuse frames, data modules, dialog boxes, etc. So you just add them to the repository, and then later you go file new other, and you have a choice of either copying that, whatever you created and added to the repository, inheriting from it, which is very powerful because in that case, you're then using an inherited from it, or using it, which is where you're just going to reference it where it's at and use it in your project. So check out the object repository. There's a link there for more information there. A great way to just, leverage doing the same thing over and over again. It's kind of like live templates. Live templates are about code. Object repository is about the whole form, data module, etc. Quick Edits, another very new feature. This was just actually in Berlin Update 2. So if you're not on Berlin Update 2, get on Berlin Update 2. This gives you the ability to quickly access designers and properties and just custom or common things you're doing in the IDE via right click with the mouse. There's a little menu there. So again, you can do some of the stuff through IDE Insight, but if you're already got your hand on the mouse, hey, just keep going with the mouse, right click, quick edits, and you can do so much stuff with that. This is an example of one of the things there where you can set some common properties on a component via quick edit. There's really so much stuff I could show you here, but I'm going to show you a few things you can do with quick edits. So in a VCL form, I can right click here and I can say quick design, and I'll say, oh, let's make this a dialog. And there we go, it's laid out as a dialog. Or I can say, let's make this a main form with a splitter, or, oops, I'm on the control now. So I'm going to use the escape key to get, actually, we'll just delete this. And right click, and we can go with a tab dialog, etc. So lots of quick layout options for your form. Currently not extensible, but in the future it may be. Let's see, let's go ahead and delete this again. Add a control. I can come down here to quickly add some common controls that I might be adding. So let's say I want to put a button on my form. There we go. There's the button. Again, you could do this via IDE Insight, but that's a quick way to get to it. I can edit this button. So I can come here and say quick edit, and it says, oh, name and caption, the most common things you're going to be editing on it really quickly. You can also change the layout, add margins and padding, and change the alignment really quickly from here as well. If I, let's see, add control, let's put down an edit box, right click on this and say quick edit, and see here it gives us the option to change the color as well. So this is going to change based on the component you put on the form. It doesn't support all components yet, but it does support a number of components and descendant components that you can deal with. Let's see, quick copy name. This is something I use a lot where I'm copying the names of components to reference them in code. So you go find the component you want. Let's say, oh, I want to change this button, right click, quick copy name. Now I've got the name of that component. You can come in here and I don't have all the options here. There's other things you can do where you can bind it to data module. I don't have any data modules on here, but you can do that if you have data, not data modules, data sets on your component, your form. Lots and lots of options. Oh, actually, I can come here and right click, add components. So there we go. I can add list image list, action list, main menu, pop-up menu. Change the icon really quick. Like you can add, if it's a, let's see, add control, and let's do it via image. Put a T image down, and I can right click on this and say quick picture, and this brings up the ability to add a picture to that T image really quickly. So there you go. That's a real quick overview, 2 quick edits. Just basically start right clicking on things and take a look at that menu and see what you can do in your VCL forms to make you more productive. Now, if you're doing multi-device development, you're going to want to check out the multi-device designers. There's a lot of really cool, powerful features in here to make you more and more productive. You can use the style selector in the IDE to preview what this is going to look like in different styles. And then you can use the multi-device preview to preview it on multiple devices inside the IDE. So you can just select, what is this going to look like on an iPhone, a Android phone of this particular size, and a iPad, and it will give you a preview of all those right there in the IDE. And then possibly the coolest feature is the new Fire UI Live preview. And what this does is you can actually connect physical devices to the IDE wirelessly over your Wi-Fi network, and it will deploy the changes you're making in the IDE to the physical device so that you can preview those changes in real time. Really, really cool technology for that there. So you'll see a variety of devices here. All of these are connected to my IDE. This is my iPad mini. Notice there's no wires on these devices. They're connected wirelessly over Wi-Fi using the app tethering technology because they're all on the same network. So iPad mini running iOS, Android phone running Android, Dell tablet running Windows 10, my IDE is running on Windows 10 here, and then over here is my MacBook Pro running OS 10. Now all of them are running the live preview application. So now I can connect any of these to the IDE and get the live preview. So let's go ahead and start with the iPad here. Hit connect, down at the bottom. So it's got the preview up on the iPad here. Now you'll notice right away that the screen is not blue, it's white, and that's because the blue theme I have loaded is, you'll notice, the Windows 10 Modern Blue theme. So it only shows up on Windows 10, doesn't show up on the iPad. Also, the tabs have moved from the top to the bottom because on Windows, tabs go on the top, on iOS, tabs go on the bottom. If I make a change, like let's add a button on here. There it is, a big button. You don't see the border on iOS, but the button is there. You'll see it says button 1. If I change tabs, it also changes tab on the iPad. And also the iPad is live, so I can tap in the iPad and edit this. And that's because the user interface is running, but it is not actually running the code behind. So if there was code that occurred or something that happened on the text box change, that wouldn't happen. So now let's connect the Android device here. So we'll just tap on Studio and hit connect. And we'll see it connects. And again, as I make changes, like for example, changing tabs, it changes tabs. And you'll notice on Android, again, the tabs are on the top, whereas iOS, the tabs are on the bottom. So let's go ahead and add Windows 10. We'll just tap on the item we want and hit connect. And we'll see there's the window appeared on Windows 10. Now this time you'll notice it is blue. That's because it's got the Windows 10 theme applied to it. So we see it in with the Windows 10 theme, the blue theme. And now let's go ahead and do the OS 10. And on here we'll just tap the one we want and hit connect. And it connects and brings it up. And it's not blue, and that's because, like I said, the theme is only for Windows 10, so it'll only show up on Windows 10. So there we go, we're previewing across 4 devices, Windows 10, iOS, Android, and OS 10, with the new live preview feature of Fire UI.
Plugins and add-ons are a way that you can kind of customize the IDE, go beyond the what's in the box, if you will, and be more productive. Some of these, I'm going to just let you know that you're going to start using these and you're going to wonder how the heck you ever work without them, and then you won't want to give them up. So that's a good thing though, right? First one, CodeSight. This is actually included with recent versions, so you've already got CodeSight, check it out. It's a great way to save time debugging. 2 more commercial ones is Model Maker Tools and Parnassus plugins. Model Maker has 2 tools. They have Code Explorer and Model Maker. Code Explorer, I really like Code Explorer. I was a huge fan of it for a long time, used it quite a bit, and I don't remember why I got out of the habit of using it. But it's fantastic. I know so many people that just cannot work without Code Explorer because it is so powerful. It can fundamentally change the way you interact with the IDE. Their Model Maker tool is the kind of higher end one. It includes a full UML framework in it. Parnassus plugins, these are fantastic IDE plugins that you can get. There's Bookmarks and Navigator. Bookmarks, I think Bookmarks is free. I'm not positive. Go out to parnassus.co, not .com, .co, to learn more information. And Bookmarks just makes it, kind of updates the way the bookmarks system works. So if you use Bookmarks in Delphi, it's a more intuitive, cool way to work with bookmarks. And the Navigator just makes it really easy to just jump around in your code. Again, you're using the keyboard and you just want to jump to different places. Great plugin. Really highly recommend both of those there. The other side here, we have, these are some of our open source or free component or add-ins that are out there. There's GExperts and CMPack are both collections of plugins. GExperts is one that's been around for a long time. I used to be a huge fan of GExperts, used it all the time. It was one of those that I just couldn't work. I mean, install a new Delphi, install GExperts. Again, I got out of the habit of using it. I don't know why. It's just, that's how things go sometimes. And it's actually, they haven't been updating it as quickly anymore. I think I went last looked and the Berlin support is still experimental. They don't have official Berlin support, although it is open source and you can update it yourself, which I have done numerous times because it wasn't updated yet for the Delphi I wanted. So I just went out, downloaded the source code, made the changes, got it working. Usually pretty straightforward. So check out GExperts. CNPack is a newer collection. It's from China, and I don't think it's open source. But it is a free collection of plugins. And I know a lot of people that switch from GExperts to CNPack, and they don't want to go back. They love CNPack. I've never got into CNPack kind of a, I guess, just probably that's what happened is I was using GExperts and I thought about switching to CMPAC and I tried CMPAC, but it was a little different and I never got around to getting used to it, but then I didn't go back to GExperts. Anyway, check those out. One of those two is probably going to be right up your alley and perfect for you. The Delphi Dev Shell Tools, this is a little bit different. This is a tool that plugs into the Explorer, Windows Explorer, and gives you access to common development tasks right there from the Explorer. Okay, so you can do things, all the stuff you wished you could do. This is one of those things you're like, oh my goodness, this is great because it gives you access to all the stuff that you want to be able to do with those Delphi projects when you encounter a Delphi project via Explorer. Whether you want to just compile it, build it right there on the spot, stuff like that, it takes care of all that for you. Delphi Package Installer is a package installer that also resolves package dependencies. Also, this is a little bit newer one as well, is the Git Package Manager. The Git Package Manager is built into the IDE and allows you to quickly and easily install and uninstall common libraries, components, and packages. And I put in there install and uninstall because this makes it so quick and easy to install and uninstall packages that you could just go in and say, hey, I'm going to do a project that needs Abrevia. So I'm just going to install Abrevia. Bloop, installs. And I'm done. Uninstall it. Bloop, uninstalls it. That fast. There's actually support in there for installing things, resolving dependencies. It's very, very powerful, very robust framework, expanding it all the time. There's now over 100 packages in there. Includes the TurboPack open source component libraries like Abrevia, Async Pro. Also, there's trials of some common commercial packages as well. And just... Oh, and then plus the Internet of Things components. There's, I think, 50 of those that are, like, say, for example, you talk to a heart rate monitor. Just install the package, drop the component, and you're talking to a heart rate monitor that quick and easy. Very, very powerful. If you're not using Git Package Manager, go check it out. There's probably stuff in there you need and want, and a lot of it, it's free open source components. So you can just click and install, and you're ready to go. Here's a few general tips that didn't really fall into other particular category, but I wanted to include those as well. One thing, if you're doing mobile development, you can prototype your mobile app on Windows. So you use the Win32 compiler instead of the mobile compiler, and it has a faster compile turnaround time. And now if you want to preview it and see what it's going to look like with the styles, you can actually add the fmx.mobile preview unit to your uses clause, and that will compile it on Windows, but with the iOS style so that you can see what it's going to look like on iOS while running on Windows. So you can debug and deploy just great and fine to iOS devices, but because the iOS device has to deploy over the wire to the device, it takes a little bit longer. There are a couple extra steps in there. So using the Win32 compiler gives you a little bit speed benefit, and it can still look like it on iOS. Really cool, really powerful technique. I find I can get quite a bit of it done. Of course, if you're doing something with accelerometer or something like that, you need to be on the device. Although, if it's working with the camera, guess what? If you have a camera on your laptop or your desktop, webcam, it'll use that instead. The camera component's that flexible. So, well, there's a lot you can do in prototyping your applications on Windows, especially the user interface and navigation through the application and stuff like that. I love this quote. This is from Eli. He said, fail early, fail often, try it. If it doesn't work, try something else. This is so true, especially in programming. I think Nick Hodges said that if one of his coworkers doesn't have like 100 projects in his project folder, they're just, project 1, project 2, project 3, project 4, then they're not trying hard enough. And that's, build proof of concept apps. You're like, hey, I wonder if this works. How does this work? What does this do? Build it really quick. That's one thing I love about Delphi, is it's so quick and productive. You can just get in there and do things quickly and figure things out and find out if it's going to work. And you can build a little quick utility application to do something for you, convert some data into a different data source or whatever it is. And so just get in there, build it early, build it often. If it fails, try something different. Also, isolate bugs and problem code. This is kind of a debugging tip, and I didn't want to get into debugging tips, but this is something for myself personally. I've found so many times that if I'm doing something and I'm getting a bug or something is not working right, that if I try and put it into an isolated project, that usually is like, oh, look, I didn't realize it's because I'm doing this somewhere else that's causing this to fail. And so I thought it was a bug, but as soon as I try and put it into a reproducible project, then it fixes it. Join developer community, whether it be community.embarcadero.com. There's a really active one on Google Plus, as well as Facebook. And we have our Slack channel going now as well. So lots and lots of different communities out there. Find one that you like, whether it be an email community, local community, whatever, and ask questions and answer questions. Even if you don't think you have all the answers, when someone asks a question, say, I wonder. Break out the IDE, build a sample application. Maybe you'll figure out how to do it. And if you do, you learn something and maybe help somebody else. So there's a lot you can do just by trying things out. Now, this is a really cool suggestion I got recently that I really love, is map your unit output directory, your DCU directory, to a RAM drive. So this does two things. First of all, it's writing out to that directory a lot. So it's going to speed it up because it doesn't have to write to disk. Second is that preserves your SSD. So SSDs are persistent storage, but each time you write to it, it wears it out a little bit. And so the more you write to an SSD, the sooner it's going to fail. RAM, on the other hand, is non-persistent storage, but you can write and read to it a whole lot more than you can an SSD before it's going to fail. So check that out. There's a link to a free open source SSD or a RAM drive I found that I'm using now. It's called IM Disk Toolkit. It's on SourceForge, which Chrome flags SourceForge as having problem projects on there. This one I've installed. It seemed okay, but certainly do your own research before installing something like that. For more information, the top link there, embt.co/maximize IDE productivity with mixed case like you see, is the link to the replay and slides for this particular webinar. So you can go there to get links, these links here, as well as others, and the slides and the replay. Brian Long did, I think it was a Code Rage 7 session on IDE productivity tips and techniques. Fantastic. It's probably going to cover some of the same stuff I covered here, but if you've not seen Brian Long's presentations, he's always very memorable, always a lot of great information. So do check that one out there. There was a skill sprint on some productivity skills tips as well. It's right there, embt.co/sprint-productivity. And then Michael Roslog did a little quick tip on live templates, which you can check out the link there for that as well.
Okay, there's a report that says some of the links on embt.co are not working. I tested all of them. Okay, so maximize IDE productivity, that is mixed case. And unfortunately, that is a thing with the maximize. Well, I just put the link in the chat window, actually. If you go there, I'll click it here again to see what happens. Yep, that's working for me. There we go. So it's case sensitive. So you have to be mixed case like I showed there, or like the, Alice reporting Firefox is blocking it as well. So is blocking SourceForge. Let me look. Maybe something's changed since I used it. SourceForge. That's not what it's called. IM tools. RAM disk. Well, there's other RAM disks. So I'll show you a really cool site I love. Let's go to, it's alternative2.net. So if you're ever like, oh, I like this program, but it's only for Chrome or only for Windows and I want to use it on Mac or whatever, you can come here and do a search. So this is a RAM disk here. And so this is one that I know someone's using. Data RAM disk. They have a free personal use drive disk. And so then you can scroll down here and you can say, oh, I want to use it for what platforms. You can select what platform you want. Only reporting, they only have Windows ones. And then you can select what license you want. And you can say, okay, I want only free ones. And so then it'll give you IM disk. Oh yeah, IM disk was what it was. So this is where I found it, IM disk toolkit. And we'll go to the more app info. I'm not usually in Safari, and it's behaving a little differently. Oh, sure enough. Maybe something happened to this. So some of these, sometimes because these are open source, sometimes people find things that they can inject into some of the projects on here. Like I said, I was using this one, so maybe something happened since I downloaded it. I don't know. It worked fine for me. So if you don't want to use that one, you can check out, there's some other ones here. There's a Soft Perfect RAM disk, Gavota RAM disk. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of them here. So you come out here, find some RAM disks options. So I'll put that in here. So quick edits are currently only for VCL. I believe they might be in FireMonkey in the future, but right now they're only VCL. I can't say for sure whether or not they're going to be there for the future. Michael's reporting that he loves CNPAC. Yeah, that's one of those things that a lot of people just say they can't get enough of that one. Like I said, I never got into it. I should try again. I'm not sure why. I just never really got the hang of CNPAC. So Richard has a suggestion about the Git Package Manager. Some of the things that are marked as free are actually trials, so we should differentiate that. That's a really good suggestion. Maybe we'll see that in the future. Actually, I know that we do have someone working full-time now on managing Git, and so maybe we'll see some changes around that. Most active developer community. G+ seems to be a really active developer community. I don't know if it's the most active, but it certainly is a very active one. There are some on pretty much every social media site has some. There's one on LinkedIn, a couple on LinkedIn, a few on Facebook. We have the community.embarcadero.com. That's the ones I can think of offhand that are pretty active. Is there a keyboard shortcut to control XML documentation like regions, expansion, and collapsion? There is, and I don't remember what it is. There is, but I don't remember it. Let's see. It might be in. I don't have my slides open. Go look through that. Those keyboard shortcut links I gave in the slides, which you can get to from that Maximize IDE productivity page. Oh, I can get to it from here. View the slides. So anything, if you need a link or whatever, you can come in here and get to all these. Open a new tab. Open a new tab. Okay. So this is Kerry Jensen's collection of keyboard combinations, and let's see. Collapses all regions, collapses current region, collapses unit. There you go, right there. Collapse regions. So I'll just put this link in here for you. So you could get to that. TDev extensions, also the TMWD dev extent offer. Oh, Dell 4X with additional code formatting options. Yep, that's true. And actually, if you have a fantastic tip that I didn't cover, go ahead and put it in the in the window here, and I'll forward that along to everybody, because I have no inclination that I know all the tips out there. Like I said, I'd forgotten about dev extensions until this morning. Detlef saying that the object repository is not working with FireMonkey forms. That's interesting. I hadn't noticed that. I've always used it on VCL tools, but when I was looking at the documentation on it, it did say that it separated things by platform, which would only make sense if it supported FireMonkey. So I have not noticed that. I was looking at that. Okay, so Robert's saying that the problem he has is when he uses the Rad Studio in parallels, some of the keyboard shortcuts don't work. Either map to something else by default or pass through to Mac OS. So what I've done is I set, at least so I'm on Mac OS and I'm running in parallels, is I set my keyboard shortcuts up. Let's see if I can bring this up here. Because I had that same problem. Okay, so I put, by default, it says, oh, we'll use the Windows thing. And so then you want to use so it maps the command key to the control key. That doesn't work for me, and I'm not sure why. So I use the OS 10 mapping, and so this has less mappings in here. You can come in here, turn some mappings on and off, add your own mappings. But what I found is this works the best for making all my IDE keyboard shortcuts work. So play with your shortcut mappings in here in order to get the best performance. So that's what other tip I'll add in there, is that if you're having trouble getting shortcuts in your VMware, you can do that. Check your keyboard mappings. After you install bonus KSVC6 in VCL form, add control contains the controls. I did not know that. Didn't know it was included. Yeah, I'm not sure. When I have multiple projects in a group and hit compile, all projects are compiled. I prefer only active project gets compiled. It can be, okay, so you can, this is another thing I do here, customize. If you come in here and say, project, you can add a shortcut in here to compile project, compile all projects. So you can differentiate that on your toolbar, or under project, you can choose compile project or compile all projects. And so there's different menu items and different shortcut keys depending on what you're doing. So you don't have to compile all of them, just choose the one that's going to fit that particular scenario. Sometimes I need to compile all of them, but usually you can just compile the current one. Just okay, so Richard's saying he uses vsubset to set up a drive pointing to a folder on his local drive for libraries to keep his path shorter. Yep, I've done tricks like that too. Done tricks like. Also, if you are, hopefully you're using source control. I didn't get into that. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things I could have gotten to that as well. But if you're not using source control, and maybe you have your projects on a network folder, that can really, really, really slow things down. So if you are building on a network folder, what I would suggest doing is using a utility that mirrors your folder. And so keep your source code on a local folder, all your compiled directories on a local folder, and then mirror those off, copy them off automatically to the network drive, shared drive, because compiling over a network drive is a lot slower. There's a little bit of latency in there, even if it's a local network, and it could make a big impact on your performance there. Albert says that he had some problems with RAM drives, but used Windows disk caching. He said made it pretty express. Dev Express IDE components. Yes, they have Dev Express is great. They have a lot of good stuff there. Let's see. Not a Delphi tool, but MindJet's Mind Manager is a nice tool for brainstorming. Yes, and, we could really get out, and there's lots of things tangentially related that are certainly good productivity enhancers. To maintain my backup process limited to my Mac, is it possible working with source code stored in a VMware Fusion shared folder? Okay, so again, when you're using a VMware Fusion shared folders, again, you're going to want to, those are using network shares. Even though it's on the same machine, it's using a network share in order to share folders between the host and the virtual machine. So copy the code. At least that was my experience, is if you copy the code and then do your building working with it and then copy it back, and there's utilities that can do that automatically. Beyond Compare, which is phenomenal. I didn't get into that one. It's a phenomenal utility. It's not an IDE, so I didn't want to cover it. Actually, you could integrate with IDE, I guess. Anyway, Beyond Compare by Scooter Software, written in Delphi, phenomenal tool for doing comparing folders. Mobile Preview, yeah, I love Mobile Preview. It's great, and the RAM disk utility can have a huge impact as well. You got using subset as well. Yes, that's a good one. Where do I find Fire UI Preview? Okay, so you can get it in the App Store, or it's in, so I can remember where it's at. I want to say it is, so here, see this, these are mapped to my Mac, and so these are network shares. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Program files, Embarcadero Studio 18, source. I can't remember if it's in here. No. Sure that popped up. Okay, it's in okay, so it's in my projects folder. Did I copy it out of there? I may have copied it out. And if you do a search for live preview, you'll find it, and you can build it and deploy it to your target devices yourself. It's covered in the doc wiki. I think it's more useful to build it from source. One of the advantages of building it from source is that you can add your own components to it, third-party components, and that can have a huge, or make it so you can visualize other components as well. So if you're not just using the default components. So there's a question here from Taran, hopefully I'm saying your name right. It says, why do you feel Delphi is a next generation language considering C#, Java, and other languages are prevalent in the market? So that's an interesting question. I say it's a next generation language because of its flexibility. It has an advantage of being native compiled, which the managed code that C# and Java use has pros and cons. I think that native compilation, generally speaking, especially on mobile devices, is going to be a lot more performant because of garbage collection has a big hit on mobile devices, whereas deterministic memory management like Arc is much better. That's one of the reasons Apple switched from garbage collection to Arc. And So there's that. Also, one of the things I love about Delphi is you have this. Like to say it's like 3 layers of productivity in Delphi, in that I can drop these components, these non-visual components down, especially like database access components, and be really productive. There's a lot of stuff I can do without writing code, just with components, dragging and dropping, visual live binding, stuff like that, be very, very productive. And then I can drop down into the code window and I can write a lot of code using the libraries that are provided that provide a huge level of productivity. But then when I need to, and it seems to happen, you always need to, you have to access those platform APIs. And Delphi makes that easy to do as well. You can reach down and grab all those platform APIs on all 4 platforms it supports: Windows, OS X, iOS, and Android. And then once you've done that, you can do all that from the same IDE, from the same code. Java and C# make that final level a lot more difficult. That especially like C# you have to use like the P invoke and stuff like that. And so Delphi gives you this ability to work at this high level with these high level abstractions and be really productive, but then also reach down and grab those APIs and get things done. I cannot tell you how many times I've been doing a presentation with people that are hardcore C# or Java developers on mobile devices, on Windows or whatever, and I start showing them some of the productivity of Delphi, and they're like, this is amazing. I can get so much more done in so little time and so much less code with Delphi than I can with C# or Java. It literally blows them away all the time. So yeah, I definitely, Delphi is such a huge improvement for over C# and Java, in my opinion. So there's my little thing about that. Where can I find the source for live preview? Let me look again. Live preview. Because that is possibly... There, is that it? All right, let's look at the doc wiki. If all else fails, read the documentation, right? Doc wiki. Okay, so installers are located here. Source code is right there. There's the source code for the Fire UI app preview, or preview app, live preview app. Casper saying he couldn't get live preview to work on his Samsung Galaxy S7. Any ideas? Define what you mean by not working, I guess. I know there's a hot fix for Samsung devices that you need to get some things to work on Samsung. So Delphi, oops, wrong window. Delphi Samsung hot fix. So try this hot fix, see if that fixes it for you. Build it from source and deploy it. There, see if that helps you with that. Depends on what's happening. If it's not connecting, you might make sure it's on on your wireless network, because it is using app tethering. You need to be on the same wireless network. So yeah, those couple things to try. Any new addition to the Delphi language in Berlin? I don't think there was any language changes in Berlin. If there were, I should know this. Let me look at the doc wiki here. What's new?
I don't see any language changes in Berlin. I may be missing them or not thinking of them. It's that happens sometimes. Oh, attributes are supported by all compilers. There was a huge performance improvement around generics in Berlin as well. So that's not a language feature, but it's a compiler enhancement. So there you go. So you can always check out what's new. I didn't look in the updates. Sometimes you see things that updates are. So the updates we try to make are non-feature releases or non-breaking changes. They are more releases now than updates. So Berlin Update 1, Berlin Update 2, but they are trying to be non-breaking changes. Okay, where are the icons and glyphs? Okay, they are in oh, I don't see them. Oh, they are in, I think they're, no. I don't see them. That's interesting. I thought I've seen them recently. Maybe they're a separate install now. I'm not sure. If someone else knows where they're at, the documents Embarcadero. They're under all users. Let's just do this. There's documents. What? Public, that's what I wanted. Public documents, Embarcadero, Studio 18. I thought for sure I saw those in here, and I'm not seeing them right now, probably because I'm doing this live. Yeah, I don't see it. Public documents, yeah, don't see them. Oh, wait. Program files here. Someone just suggested this folder. Let's try it. SQL / program files, Embarcadero 18 images. Yep, there they are. Icons, splash. Oh, this doesn't have the glyph effects on it in here, unless they're in. Nope, they're not there. Interesting. I wonder if they quit bundling those. So yeah, you can get to them from here. Thank you, Rob. So yeah, it's one of those things. Microsoft occasionally changes for changes locations things needs to go. So that has to change things. Is it possible? Transcript questions, all attendees have to event over. So I probably won't mail it out, Richard, but I will try and place this transcript up on the page here, which is on this page here. Oh, I gotta go back one more. On the community blog post, I'll try and put that on there with the replay as well, so that you can find it. Alf points out that everything is .exe is a useful tool for searching. Yes, it is. Although, to be honest, so I was using that for a while, but I discovered that you can tweak the way Windows search works, and I can search inside source code from there, and so then I don't have to have something else installed. So that's what I always do, is just tweak the Windows search to search source code as well.
Exalius icons are good, according to Anthony, and cheap. What is a good reference book to learn Delphi's each feature in Delphi? The Doc Wiki. Use the Doc Wiki. The Doc Wiki is pretty extensive. And that's a good resource there. There's a few other books out there as well, but I would start with the Doc Wiki if you're, or Marco Cantu has some books as well. It depends on what you're wanting to learn because there's so much. I mean, it's such a extensive thing. There's not really a one place to learn it all, but Marco Cantu Delphi book. So you can get his Delphi handbooks. You can get his, there it is, Object Pascal handbook. So that's language in RTL. Great reference there. There is the Daniela Tete has the FireMonkey cookbook. If you go to community.embarcadero.com, there is a link up here, resources, books. So Object Pascal handbook, Delphi cookbook, coding in Delphi, more coding in Delphi. There's one in Portuguese. So lots of options here for books, ebooks. The Doc Wiki, of course, is a great place to start. Okay, well, lots of stuff here. Another good source for icons. There actually quite a good places out there to find images and icons. I've find that it's much easier for me to find things. Actually, if you do this, if you go to, this is what I usually do, google.com, and I do images, images.google.com, and you want to search for, let's say I want to search for a Twitter icon, and then you go tools, usage rights, labeled for reuse, and there you go. All those are labeled for reuse. Yeah, you can use any of these icons. So you can do this for just about anything you can think of you want to use. Just say labeled for reuse, and then check the license on the specific of them. Some of them are going to be from here, from Wiki Commons. You'll find a lot of them on here, which they're going to have usage restrictions of some sort. This is like, okay, this is universal. Public domain, so that means it's free to use. Some of them will be attribution required. You can also use things like Pixabay. This one here, everything they have on here is public domain images, and means they have crazy good images. All the images I was using in my presentation came from here. So lots of great resources there. Okay. All right. We're top of the hour. Wow. Okay. So thank you so much for coming and coming out and attending. Thanks for your suggestions and help with your suggestions on some additional tips as well. Hopefully you found a few things useful. Definitely check out some of the additional resources that I provided there, as you can get to all of them from the Maximizing IDE page. Go here, view slides. And yeah, and look forward to me including all the links here that were suggested during the question and answer on this page as well. Thanks so much. Oh, stay tuned for, I'll make a couple announcements here. We have our IoT Bootcamp coming up in February. That's going to be a big one. I never use Safari. Where did it go? Oh, there it is, IoT Bootcamp. February 6th to 9th. Come on here, register for this. This is going to be cool. I'm really excited about this. We're partnering with Boyan Mitov. He's got his Visuinu, which is a great tool for making apps that run on Arduinos and some of these other devices. And then we're going to show how to connect all those to Delphi and RAD server and just do all sorts of stuff. We partnered with Maker Fabs, and they've put together a kit of components that you can get a really great deal on. And this is designed all to work with what we're going to cover. So we're going to try and cover as much of this stuff as we can. But this has got Arduino Nano and a Node MCU Mini, which are two different controller boards, as well as lots of input devices, punch cards, controllers, sensors, just such great stuff. Stepper motors. If you've wanted to get into this sort of stuff and just haven't known where to start, this is going to be a great opportunity to just come out and learn how to use some of your favorite development tools with open hardware. So check that out. Also, we have our list of all our upcoming webinars, which you probably are aware of since you're on this webinar. But if you come out here to our upcoming 2017 webinars, you can find a list of all the webinars that are coming here in the near future. Okay. There was a couple good suggestions here around quick edits, making them accessible via a keyboard shortcut and making them so they're always visible, maybe on a second monitor or something like that. Those are good, both good suggestions. I made some notes here of that, and I'll pass that on to the product management team. One thing that I didn't really get into is the productivity that Delphi provides itself because of its because of all the components and libraries and stuff like that is actually a huge productivity benefit as well. So just familiarizing yourself with the features of Delphi. Actually, a funny story, this is Turbo Pascal, so I'm dating myself a little bit here, but I was working with somebody and he's like, hey, how do you do the thing where you, and I'm like, he could try to explain something. I'm like, I don't understand what he's saying. That's okay, I can write in assembly. And so he goes and writes this code up in assembly to delete a line on the screen. This is text console, and move everything below it up one, but then not move anything above it. So if you've ever worked in a text console, you know that it scrolls up. So this was removing a line and scrolling everything below it up, but then leaving everything above it where it was. It took him about 15 minutes, maybe half an hour to write this. Pretty quick. You know, he knew exactly what the calls were in assembly, and that was great because he could do it in line assembly in Turbo Pascal. And got it done. And he's like, there you go. And I'm like, oh, that's just, and I can't remember what it is right now, but there was a command in the CRT unit that did exactly that. It was like delete line or something. And I was like, oh, that's just like this. And he's like, oh, man. But so that's just example of learning the tools. Marco Cantu's book on the Object Pascal Handbook, which I think I might have a tab open for it here. Yeah, right here. His Object Pascal Handbook, if you haven't read this, great resource of just understanding the language and the RTL. We have other books that you can check out here, which you can check out. They have other information you can learn about stuff. So Delphi Cookbook, first edition, second edition, coding in Delphi, more coding in Delphi, etc. Generally speaking, if you think about it, if you get one of these books and you learn just one useful bit of information out of it, it's paid for the book, really. So I'm a big believer in investing in books like that. I have, let's see, I see 3 of them stacked right here next to me. So let's see. How do I get code insight from taking a very long after pressing a period, even though auto evoke is disabled? Let's see. The reason, let me see if I can remember this, the reason that takes a long time, so one thing you can do, excuse me, and I did a session on this previously, is if you divide your project up into different packages, and so you don't have to access everything every time you invoke the code insight, that can help speed up performance a little bit. So by reducing the size of what it has to work with in memory, that's one way you can help it. That's probably the biggest thing I can think of offhand. Andrea's requesting a session where I program casting my screen, showing what I do. That's actually, I thought about doing that, Andrea, and I will look at doing that. So stay tuned to community.embarcadero.com, and I'll post something up there and do some live coding at some point where I can code, and as I go along, you can watch what I'm doing and how I do things and stuff like that. And probably embarrass myself because that's just the way it is. I'm never quite as talented as I like to pretend I am. There are many items on Delphi main menu that I never use. Explain all the items on the menus, features found in the menu. That would be a good idea. there's a lot, David, there's a lot of information in the doc wiki. And it explains a lot of the stuff in the menus. Gosh, let's see. I mean, I could, my VMs were locked up. Okay, never mind. I won't go in there. If you go into the doc wiki, though, it has lots of the menus spelled out what everything in there does, so you can see that and get a better understanding of what's going on there. So, yeah, check that out. What is the new feature called around global replace, and how does it work? Global replace. Oh, Dan, I'm not sure. Does anybody else, if anybody else knows what Dan's talking about, a new feature around global replace? I'm just not thinking of what it's called right now. Look under what's new. Replace. It's a string replacement. Encode. No. Maybe it's in Seattle. Do you know when it was introduced, Dan? And I can possibly track it down. I know there's a link at the side that lets me do that, but I always do it this way. What's new? I'll start singing What's New Pussycat. Aren't you guys glad I didn't do that? Let's see. Replace. No? No. I am not sure, Dan, so I need a little more information, and I could ask around. So shoot me an email, jim@mckeith.org, and I can look into that and see if I can figure out what it is you're talking about, because I'm not sure. It uses the compiler syntax to do the global replace and not just search text. Oh. I know what you're talking about now, but I can't think of what it is. I will have to look into that, Dan, and do a blog post. I'll make a note right now. I actually have a piece of paper and a pen, a really nice pen. It's a Uniball, one of those gel rollers. I love these. Okay. I think that's one of the refactoring things, but I have to look into that. Okay, and remember TurboVision or even Zinc? Oh, yeah, TurboVision. Okay, I know you're talking about way back from Turbo Pascal days. That would be interesting. I don't know that there's any movement around that as far as creating something along those lines. If you are interested in Arduino, though, which I noticed you mentioned there, I will point out that we have our up on community, we have our coming webinars, which you're probably aware of this already since you're on one of the webinars. But we have our Arduino IoT Bootcamp, which we're going to be working with Visminu, which is a product made by Boyan Mitov of Mitov Software that lets you build apps for Visminu visually. And then we're going to show how to connect those to Delphi RAD server and build this connected IoT network. So pretty exciting. We're pretty excited about that one. This is going to be a pretty big deal. We actually have, if you go to the more info page, we've gotten a bundle put together with MakerFab. They've put together this great bundle. So if you're maybe new to Arduino and don't know, what to buy, this is it's less than $50 to get this bundle. And it's got 2 controllers in it. It's got a Arduino Nano as well as a Node MCU Mini, which the Node MCU Mini has built-in Wi-Fi. So really easy to connect these things here. We got some sensors, some lights, some a breadboard. We got a couple number pads so you can put numbers in and get those numbers in your app. I mean, this is going to be a lot of cool stuff here. So check this out. Join us for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really, 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 really excited about this. So I'll put the link in for that. Let's see. Usually when selecting multiple components in the form designer, I use control-click on one, control, and I drag to select other components. Yesterday was... is that not supported on FireMonkey? Let's see. I don't know why my VMs locked up. I thought that worked, David. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. I know that it might be different on FireMonkey. Tried using usually use the shift click. Oh, wait. The control where you're... Oh, I'm not sure, David. I'd have to experiment with it and see. I'll look and see, though. I'm not positive offhand, and I can't get my VM to work. CTRL. Control, click, drag. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wish I had an answer for that. Nice to have a shortcut key or smart tag to open the quick edit properties. Yeah, Mark, I put a note here about that to make it so you could open the quick edit properties from shortcut key. That's a good idea. And I will pass that along to product management. And actually, if you want to do these on, and probably even a better idea if you do them, if you go to quality.embarcadero.com. Oh, it's already on there. And I typed it wrong. Okay, so yeah, if it's on, you can do feature suggestions on quality.embarcadero.com. You just make sure you spell it correctly and put them on there, and you can get people to vote on them and such as well. Mark, if you want to email me the link to that, and I know that I've talked to product management, and they put a lot of consideration on these feature requests to what to consider for the future. So that's a great place if you do have things you want to get added on. So anyway, that is it for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Larry. Glad you got some useful out of this. And, it's exactly a lot of this, and some of this kind of came across in here, is a lot of these features I used to use, and then I got out of the habit of, and I forgot. And I was like, oh, man, I know there's a way to do this, and I had to go dig. And it's like, oh, that's right, live code templates. Those things, man, I used to do so many cool things with those, and I just got out of the habit of them. So, even if you just go in and experiment with some of these things I talked about and try and figure out a way to use them, you might surprise yourself and realize that, it just takes a little effort to get that initial going and get started with them. But then you're going to really be impressed with how productive you can be, especially adding in some of those add-ons I talked about as well, like CNPack or Parnassus or something along those lines. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day. And we will see you on our next webinar. Thanks a lot.